So I was reading an article about a guy who said he was miserable in his relationship, yet he was planning to move in with his girlfriend. And the article talked about how he had an addiction for the relationship, and that was what was causing him to move in with her, knowing that it would just cause him more misery. But did he really know that though? Did he really understand that moving in with her would cause more misery? Did he really look at it? And the answer is no. When he was making that decision to move in with her, he wasn't conscious about it. He wasn't facing that there would be a lot more pain if he would move in with her. You see, often in our lives, we'll have something be so painful to us that we'll look the other way. We won't face it. We'll maybe even straight up lie to ourselves in order for us to avoid feeling or dealing with that pain. Or on the flip side of things, maybe something will be so desirable that we'll rationalize getting it, that we'll avoid looking at the consequences or the cost of what it is that we are getting, to avoid realizing that that cost is a lot higher than what we're actually getting in return for it. And so today's video will be about making conscious decisions, making decisions based off the price of things and the pleasure of things, and understanding how it will impact our lives, both in terms of the positive and the negative. There are misconceptions is that some stuff are good and some stuff are bad. Like we would say, smoking a cigarette is a bad decision. We would say eating unhealthy food is bad. And you can say objectively it might have a bad impact on our bodies temporarily. But for example, with junk food, let's take that for an example. If we're going to eat a junk food instead of eating a nutritional, healthy meal, right? Now, the downside to that would probably be it will have a negative effect on our bodies. We might gain weight. We'll probably have a very clouded mind straight after eating it. And in the long run, it will have some unhealthy effects on our bodies, probably. Now, if we look at the positive effects of it, you'll probably enjoy it more than the healthy meals. You'll probably feel more comfortable and relaxed as you're eating it. And people might say that's not a good thing, but I would say if you're enjoying it in that moment, then that moment is very well spent. And maybe it's even something that you look forward to do that will give you energy throughout the day. And maybe it's some way that you can show a little bit of appreciation of yourself. Maybe you had a hard day, maybe you experienced something tough, and so you want to appreciate yourself through that. And so both those sides should be taken into account. Now on the surface that sounds very, very easy to do, like a very simple pros and cons list. It's not exactly rocket science, right? But what is more challenging is when it comes to something that triggers a deep fear in us. Like if our primal fears are triggered, maybe we're fearing for our own safety, then it will be extremely hard for us, if not impossible, to make a rational, calm decision in that moment, because we will be so affected by the state of fear that our entire body are stuck in. For an example, in my last 2 relationships, there was a very clear moment, I remember very clearly the situation it was in, where I knew in my gut, if we continue, it will get worse and we will eventually have to break up no matter what, because we're not right for each other and the dynamic is very toxic. And I knew in my gut that if we continue, it will be more painful, the relationship, and when we'll eventually break up, it will be a lot harder and a lot more painful, a lot more traumatizing for the both of us. But because they were my primary source of happiness, my primary source of confidence, my primary source of feeling calm, feeling home, feeling comfort, if I would leave them, I would feel like my safety would be in jeopardy. I would feel unsafe on a very primal level. And so looking at that, facing that, was very, very hard for me, and both relationships ended up going on for months after, and what I knew in my gut ended up happening anyway. So when our primal fears are triggered, that's when it's the hardest, and the more fearful we are, the harder it is. But at the same time, that's also when it's such an amazing practice that will enable us to see those decisions in a more truthful and honest way with ourselves. So here are 3 steps to make the right decision for you, even when your primal fear has kicked in and is holding you down, kicking you in the groin. Step number 1 is breathe and allow yourself to feel whatever it is that you're feeling. If it's some kind of desire that you wish you didn't have, if it's some kind of fear that is clustering you, making you fear for your life, making you want to run, flee, just allow yourself to feel all of it and allow yourself to breathe fully and just calm and relax yourself. For me, that usually means going into a room by myself, sitting and relaxing by myself so I can be alone with my thoughts. Maybe for you it means going for a walk, doing some kind of meditation stuff. Step number 2 is reminding yourself of what it is that is your mission in life. Reminding yourself of who you are. For me, it is reminding myself that nothing is more important than loving myself. It's reminding myself that nothing is more important than staying true to myself and being authentic to my higher self. Why that is important is that it will help you stick to your gun and choose what is most aligned for you, and using that as leverage to see clearly and to remove all the cloudiness that is fears, that are desires, that are what other people might think depending on what you decide, and all of that stuff. Number 3 is listening to your gut. So often we can make a pros and cons list, but there are so many small details, so many nuances, that even if we sit and we jot down for hours upon hours, we'll never get the clear understanding of all those details. Meanwhile, in our gut, we already know the answer, because we already are able to take in all the impressions in our gut. And our gut will always, at least to my belief, will always have the right answer for us. It will always have our best interest in mind. And so long before we will rationally be able to explain what's the best for us, we already know it in our gut. Now these 3 steps are incredibly powerful and will not only help you make the right decision, but will make that decision so much more lighter, because the decision is coming from the right place and you're in touch with yourself and aligned with yourself when making it. And when you practice it, it will become a lot easier for you, to the point where it will be second nature. And so when you're making the small decisions every day, whether to get out of bed or not, whether to take some kind of action or not take that action, or even whether to carry around a thought that is impacting your emotional state, that is impacting your mind, that's impacting the way you're perceiving things, perceiving people, you'll be able to remove that thought or focus on something else if you feel like it's not aligned with yourself anymore. And finally, self-love is really the key to your liberation, to your freedom, because it will give you a deep, profound desire to always do what is the best thing for yourself, to always make the decision that is most aligned with you and most powerful for your higher self, if you will. But self-love will also allow you to take the hard choices when it comes to it, because it will give you a strong foundation of self-worth, of self-confidence, of comfort, so that the fears that you have, they're not as powerful and doesn't take as much energy out of you anymore, because you have that foundation of comfort and confidence and self-love. And a key component to self-love is feeling compassion for yourself, because that compassion for yourself will allow yourself to accept yourself even when you screw up. And what that means is that you no longer have to hide. You no longer have to face the other direction when you're uncomfortable or feeling shameful or feeling guilty, because you can feel compassion for yourself, which will make it easier for you to see those decisions in a more honest and true way and make the right decision. So that is all. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please leave a comment. Please subscribe. And thank you so much for watching the video. I deeply appreciate it. Remember to stay true to you.